Morning to everybody. It's a great day to be a Houston sports fan. Coaching masterclass by the Texans. I hate that I expected. Yes. This is the price you pay. This is like not being able to fully enjoy a division title by the Astros because your expectations are higher. That's what you want. That's how this country was made great, by people trying to be better for their families and then realizing, oh no, that's not even enough. We got to move from Massachusetts to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania ain't quite. I need more land. We're gonna go out to Iowa and then onward and upward and over to Texas and all that. Damn it. That's the spirit. That's the pioneer spirit that's gonna make this Texans team great. Let's go. Good morning, Seth, and all Texans fans. CJ is him. That is it. Elbow cough. Yes. Oh, because of my cold sore. I made fun of somebody's cold sore, and the rules of the universe are just like Frank Reich gets his comeuppance decades after upsetting the Oilers in the playoffs. He's getting his comeuppance by having chosen the wrong quarterback yet again in his career. First, it was Carson Wentz, and then a franchise in the Carolina Panthers was idiotic enough to let the guy who wanted to trade for Carson Wentz to choose their next quarterback and take a prepubescent, pleasant young lad as their quarterback instead of a trained killer like CJ. My God, it feels good. I don't care. I'm going to jump to conclusions because CJ's doing a whole lot of stuff that other young quarterbacks don't do. And I want to watch CJ Stroud's press conference. I know he said some really good stuff in here. And I think more than anything, CJ continues to heap praise on everybody else and spread it all around to the point where some of my talking points after this game, I got down to like 6 or 7 or 8 talking points before I realized, I better talk about CJ at this point. He's got 250 plus passing yards in 3 straight games with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in each of those 3 games. That's the first time any rookie quarterback has done that since 1970 at least. NFL research didn't go back further than 1970 because apparently they lack the funds to do so. So here's CJ. This is not the incredible production value that many of you have come to expect from Seth Payne Productions, but it's the best we're going to do under these circumstances. I want to thank everybody. First of all, God, John McClain, CJ Stroud. I'd like to thank my mom for not giving up on me, no matter how many times I got letters sent home about how I was a bright child but had discipline issues. And here we are today with me muddling my way through a press conference with a potentially AFC South winning and who knows what else team, because this schedule coming up sucks. The quarterbacks that CJ Stroud is facing largely are inferior to CJ Stroud, whether they're rookies or otherwise. Desmond Ridder, Arthur Smith. You're going to stack up a picture of Arthur Smith next to D'Amico Ryans and tell me you feel like they should be favorites in Atlanta right now? My God. CJ Stroud, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, CJ, how would you describe what you've been able to do through these first 4 games of your career?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just for me, it's been the ability to be in a city like Houston that I felt God put me here for a reason. So, you know, how I start, just all glory praise to him. And I think it started all the way back from my 30 visit. When I came out of it, I sat right in this area and I poured my heart out to the coaches. They poured their hearts out to me, let me know what they wanted from a quarterback or if they were going to take one. And I gave them what I felt I was. And every day I feel like God has given me the ability to show with that attitude and that mentality every day. So it's been a blessing. I think it's really cool when you see your work pay off a little bit. But for me, it's just the beginning. Like I still think I left a lot on the field today. Could have played better in the red zone. And for me, of course, I always want to snip that in the bud and get back to work. But it feels good. It definitely does feel good to work really hard and see it pay off. But for me, it's just the beginning, and I'm super blessed.
Brandon Scott and I were up listening to this in the press box, and when we heard him say "snip it in the bud," we thought, all right, you know what? Makes more sense than nip it in the bud. More descriptive. CJ Stroud yet again improving on things. So there's that. As far as him saying that he had to prove himself in those meetings with the coaches and the coaches talking about whether or not they were going to draft the quarterback, I found that really interesting because I think the theme that we had through training camp and OTAs and everything else was that it was a quarterback's competition and that CJ had to prove himself. And I don't know if it was complete lip service. Like, I don't know whether it was a true 1-for-1 competition between him and Davis Mills. I do think that they very much had certain benchmarks they wanted him to reach, as opposed to Bryce Young, who was named the starter immediately, and that's been working out brilliantly for the Panthers. I'm sure they feel awesome about that with his mediocre performances and him coughing up the ball yesterday and him missing games due to injury. But whatever. I looking back on it in hindsight, I didn't have an issue with it at the time. I know some people did, but I think you can never go back and run an experiment where you do it the other way. But so far, so good for CJ Stroud. Said with the defense the last 2 weeks with shutouts in the first half, what does that do for the offensive energy that you feel off of some of the plays that they're making?
I think those first 2 weeks, it was like offense plays good one game, defense plays good the other. And these last two games, we both play well together. And when you have a defense flying around like that, I mean, we feel it at practice. And when you got those good on good periods, you're warming yourself up, iron and sharp iron for that Sunday. And this week, those guys are flying around. You've seen them doing that practice, so that gives you the confidence that they're going to do it in the game. So it was a blessing to just have a defense like that. D'Amico's calling it well. Henry's playing really well, calling the plays, and guys are flying around, and you can feel the energy in the building. And it's really cool to be able to be an offense off of that. And we got to help those guys out a little more. I definitely think that today. I mean, we let them hang around a little too much, and we were driving the ball really well, but we weren't finishing drives, and that's something that we got to get better at.
Yeah, I think the third quarter especially was when some nervousness started to seep in. I know I had a couple conversations with some of you about whether play calling was to blame in the second half or not. I really felt like defensively, at least, it was as simple as poor tackling. There were times where they had Kenny Pickett dead to rights and they let him get out of the pocket. There were times, obviously, with Najee Harris where they could have had a tackle for loss in the backfield and they let him go. So it wasn't the play calls. You can blame coaching for the poor tackling ultimately, I suppose, but it wasn't play calling. It was just actually getting dudes down on the ground. Offensively, I think, man, as long as these receivers continue to pay attention to detail the way they are, as long as CJ continues to improve and grow, as defenses make adjustments to his game and all of that, they'll have some duds of series because every offense does. But I just, man, you always feel like they might be right on the brink of breaking another big one, and it's really cool to see. I will make zero apologies about getting too excited too soon because CJ Stroud is doing stuff not just that rookies don't do, but that guys who are in their third and fourth and fifth years in the league don't. This isn't just like stuff that keeps guys from being busts. This is some of the higher level, next level stuff that some quarterbacks, I don't want to mention any names yet, but some even credible NFL quarterbacks don't do. It's really cool. So I believe Aaron Wilson is asking, the offensive line didn't allow a sack 2 weeks in a row. Do you feel like Dameon Pierce gave you all an advantage by running the ball?
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row, man. Just the guys playing solid, guys stepping up, man. This is the league, next man up. And my guy Deck stepped in, did a great job. KG, J Pat, Shaq, George. So I mean, when those guys up front are battling, we're battling on the outside too to make plays. So it really starts up front and running the ball. We ran the ball really well this game. Started off hot. I think we scored like 3 touchdowns in that first drive. So that just shows how relentless that this team is being built from D'Amico and Nick and Bobby. And we're buying into it, and we're really trying to be relentless and have that killer mindset like they're preaching every game, every play. So those guys played amazing. The tight ends helped those guys, helped the tackles out a lot with the chips and trying to control TJ and 56. Who are two great players. That defense is a great defense. But I feel like when we're rolling, we're going to be hard to stop, and especially when we don't turn the ball over and we get 2 or 3 back. You know what I mean? So hats off to everybody.
Okay, so all right, let me talk to you full speed for a second here. I'm going to be really annoying about this because nobody ever wants to hear about it, but the freaking wide receiver blocking, like that first series alone, John Mechie blocked TJ Watt and didn't just get in his way, arm chopped him at one point to finish the block. We had Nico Collins blocking 2 dudes on one play, drove a safety back like 10 yards, spun back around and blocked the linebacker down at the goal line. And then you had Robert Woods just completely sacrifice himself by throwing himself in front of the locomotive that was TJ Watt. It was really cool to see. And I told Sean this morning, it's like a barometer and it's an indicator for how much attention to detail your offense is gonna pay by watching your wide receivers and whether or not they block, because it's typically a thankless thing. You don't get highlight reels for it except on my Twitter feed, but it makes this offense go. We remember from back in the Kubiak days, right? Like, it wasn't just lip service talking about Kevin Walters blocking. They care about wide receiver blocking. But when you're getting it out of Tank Dell. Tank Dell is out there blocking fools. He weighs 160 pounds, and he's out there just blocking as hard as he runs his routes. It's so cool to see. And it's so important. Like, it's so important. And you don't get it unless you have coaches that convince guys of its importance. And those guys are blocking just as hard as they're running the routes when they know that they might be getting the football. It's just really cool to see. As far as the protection, Bobby Slowick, Chris Strausser, the offensive line coach, the offensive linemen themselves, and everybody else that CJ just mentioned. Yeah, it was a whole it takes a village situation these last 2 days, but it was really good. Because that also takes attention to detail. When you're doing more exotic stuff in pass protection, you're pulling guards, you're bringing tight ends across the formation, you're bringing tight ends in short motion across the formation, and then back to again. It was crazy, and they did it. It was really cool. So, CJ, there you are. Let's try this one for a little bit. So this question will be, let's listen to it. We might be able to hear it.
You mentioned it. You guys scored 3 touchdowns before you actually got points. Can you talk about what that meant to be able to keep going back to the hole and come away on that first drive with 7?
Yeah, that's what we were preaching, man. Going to the red zone, getting 7 out 3. And when you're relentless and you're fighting your tail off, that's what it looks like. And we preach that throughout practice every day. Jake Moreland, our tight end coach, comes up and he gives us a presentation of our red zone, and he tells us, man, it's kind of ironic. Like the red zone, we wore the battle red uniforms and we scored in the red zone our first drive 3 times or something crazy like that. So, and Jake brought that up in our meeting a couple weeks ago, and for it to see the payoff, the guys working really hard at practice, it's a blessing. So, I mean, we got to keep that up and even be better, because we were driving the ball down a couple of times and just took 3 when we really should have had 7 on miscues, me missing a throw or things like that. And so we can all be better all around, but that's what we preach. We want to be great in the red zone.
Yeah, as far as that is nice to see them make that progress. And to address one, let's see. Let's not get our egos high, peeps. No. But listen. Everybody gets that, man. It's Monday, and please enjoy it. Just honestly, take what we've had the last few years in Houston. It sucked. It's been awful. It hasn't just been bad. It's been cataclysmically, weirdly, dysfunctionally atrocious. It's been embarrassing. We have been a spectacle. It's been hopeless, forlorn, abysmally awful. So yeah. I'm going to take these last 2 weeks and I'm going to get excited as fuck about it, because it's fucking there's shit going on over there. There's Kirby in the background there. There's NRG Stadium. There's stuff going on that's genuinely worth getting excited about. Look, this week, I'm going to talk about the tackling. I'm going to talk about some of the continued miscues by the tight ends, although they showed improvement there. I'm going to talk about the improved linebacker play, but how it genuinely has to get better. I'll talk right now, honestly, about, since we're talking about going for 7 instead of 3, when they went on it on 4th down, one thing CJ can improve on that play, for as good and as calm as he's been in the pocket, on that play action play when they went for it on 4th and failed, CJ had time to set his feet, and he didn't. He hurried the ball off because he felt that pressure coming. And that's something he's going to coach himself on and get better. But no, I'm not going to make any apologies, not whatsoever, for getting excited about this team and where they are right now. There is nothing that you should keep you from getting excited about this. Don't steal my joy.
Yeah.
So it says it feels like you and Bobby Slowick have been in a much better rhythm the past couple of weeks. Is it during the week or is it during the game you feel that you put together a really good plan for what you want to do and are executing it really well?
I think around Friday, Saturday. Those Wednesdays, Thursdays, we're putting in new things, so it's not always going to click right away. But for me and Bobby, we've gotten a pretty good idea on what we both like, the offense we want to run, and he's calling it, man. He's doing a great job. And Case Keenum always says he calls it, we ball it. So it's been a blessing to work with somebody like Bobby, we're all getting trust, not only from him but from the O line to the tight ends to the running backs to the receivers, and we're starting to buy into the system. And I think it's showing. So
What he calls it, we ball it. Good job, Case Keenum. And by the way, as many of you have noted, maybe you hadn't seen me before. I do not look like Case Keenum. Case Keenum looks like me. Okay, so let's just remember that. So he was asked, when you hear that you throw for the second most passing yards in the first 4 starts, what kind of goes through your head when you hear those type of accolades attached to your name? And unless I blocked that out, let me show. Let me add a little bit of clarity to that. So Stroud surpassed Justin Herbert, Andrew Luck, Pat Mahomes, and Mark Bulger for the second most passing yards in NFL history by a quarterback through the first 4 games. For our gentleman that said, not to get too high on the hog earlier, that's always a good reminder with some of these stats that, like, okay, look, yeah, okay, boy, those first 3 guys, lots really promising there. I mean, we'll see about Justin Herbert, but it was also Mark Bulger. Like no disrespect to Mark Bulger, not quite in the same category as a Pat Mahomes. So that's always, it's a good reminder that, yeah, look, you're not there yet. You're not in the Hall of Fame, obviously. We haven't even made a wild card game yet. CJ's response.
uh, for me, it's a blessing, but uh, I want to do more. I want to be really great at this game. I want to put in the work every week. And just like I think I was telling you in the locker room, this they'll hate you. I mean, they'll love you one week, they'll hate you the next, man. So for me, it's a constant grind, constant build up throughout the week, and I'm getting back to my routine, working really, really hard this week to go play a tough Atlanta team. It's a blessing to be able to be playing decently. But for me, I mean, it's the guys around me. I can't do anything without those guys balling out. You see the yards at the catch. You see the guys straining up front. Me getting the ball out, trying to get the ball out on time. The running backs doing their job. The tight ends doing their job. Like everybody's doing their job. And then you add the defense. And then you add our special teams. Like everybody's playing together. So we got to keep that going. But it's a blessing for sure.
Dude, the yards after catch is huge. I mean, that's just it's monstrous. I saw one of the advanced stats this morning with Nico Collins, like the percentage of his yardage that's not expected based on the computer modeling and everything is the highest percentage in the league. Like he catches the ball, and a lot of that starts with the timing and the rhythm of the throw, where CJ throws it in time, in rhythm, to where you've got that monstrous human being, Nico Collins, running at full stride and catching without having to break stride, and he turns up and goes. And honestly, like one thing that kept the Texans offense under Kubiak from truly, genuinely thriving was that Schaub wasn't the best at ball placement. He had good accuracy numbers. His completion percentages were good, but he was never genuinely great at getting the ball up high and out in front of guys. So you'd see guys having to reach behind him a little bit and then pull it up front. It makes a big difference. Like that one little movement right there can translate into 5 or fewer yards when it comes to beating guys upfield. So far, that's been a very promising sign. So he's asking, he said today you threw the ball sooner than you wanted to or put it out of reach of a defender. Is that part of your growth? Am I right? Did I see more of that today?
Part of your growth, am I right? Did I see more of that today?
Yeah, I think I'm getting smarter when it comes to that. Just not taking hits, throwing the ball away, or put into only where my guy can get it. I feel like I've been doing that for a couple of weeks, but definitely the first point with just getting rid of the ball, being smart, not taking sacks, not taking hits, and I got to use my legs a little bit today. I think I could have used my legs a little more towards that back end, but like I said, man, we want to do anything it takes to win. And if that's to the world, it might look like a negative play, but not taking a sack, and being smart with the football, throwing it away is really important, and it helps field position, things like that. And the intentional ground I had was dumb on my part. I got to be better in that area, but definitely trying to grow in that case. And Davis has helped me a lot, and Gerard um, in the QB room of not taking hits and being smart with the football. So we knew that with this team, if you take care of it and you take it away, just like any other game, you can win a game. So yeah.
There's one thing that occurred to me just as he was saying that about throwing it to where only the receiver can get it. And yesterday down in the red zone, there was that one looked like a near pick. I'm gonna have to watch on the all 22, but where he threw it low, and I believe it was to Robert Woods. Is that starting to be a common theme? Is he throwing it? Is he throwing what looks to be riskier throws more often to Robert Woods? And is it his trust in Robert Woods to kind of make those contested throws? Actually, with Robert Woods, it's not necessarily contested throws. It's where Robert Woods has leverage, and I think CJ feels he can throw it low, and that's where it's safest. So he feels like Robert Woods might be able to scoop it up. But then when guys make a play on it, it's still a low probability interception. I'm not trying to give him like more credit for something that might just be random chance, but I do think there's definitely a calculated element to some of his misfires. And it's like it takes a little bit of luck to not throw interceptions. He easily could have had one or two along the way, but I don't think it would have affected the win-loss record at this point. These last 2 weeks have been pretty emphatic victories by the Texans. So he says, this is Greg Bailey, I believe, when you put in the work with your teammates under this coaching staff, is what we saw today what you expect when you step on the field?
Yeah, for me at least, I know I'm probably speaking for everybody. We don't have no expectations. We trying to do one play, one thing at a time. I feel like when you go in a game trying to do anything that like you put already to your mind, it usually doesn't happen that way. And that's how I kind of live my life, man. Just living where my feet are at, and working really hard to make that one thing happen. Doing my job because I trust my brother to do his. But yeah, when you put in that work there in practice, you expect success, but you only give yourself a chance. You don't. It's not nothing is set in stone in this league. So it's really hard. And you only give yourself an opportunity to make the play. It's up to you to go do it. So I definitely feel like, yeah, it's a better feeling when you put it in practice, but it doesn't guarantee anything.
So he said, what made you confident that you thought this team could be something during this process?
It was a lot of things, man. Trying to think of the first thing I can probably think of. But I think the first thing for me was when I got drafted, and even before the draft, um, meeting Will, and we didn't know we were coming to the Texans or anything like that, but we talked about being teammates. And then you fast forward, we got drafted to the team. I got over 50, 60, 70 text messages from people from this organization, and mostly players. And for me, it wasn't a worry of mine leaving the place I did at Ohio State. Like when I was in Ohio with my brothers, man, back in college, like we were a real brotherhood. Like I would put my head on the block for those guys, and I would die for those guys. And I didn't know if the league was like that, but when those guys hit me up, man, it meant a lot. And they had none but utmost faith in me, and knew that they didn't draft me for any reason. And they told me that, and they had confidence in me before I even had confidence in myself in this league. So that was probably around the time where I knew we can be special because the excellent, like everybody's, if you're in the NFL, I mean, you're probably a really good football player. But when you have guys buying in to do it for one another, that's when it turns special. So, like the energy that we're bringing every day to practice, to pregame, to halftime, to postgame, like we're bringing that swag and that juice that D'Amico talks about, that Texan way football. We're starting to show up. So, and we don't want nobody to think we're going to be good or bad. We don't really care. We're going to do what we do because we're the man in the arena. We're the ones doing the work. We're the ones getting hit. We're the ones playing. So for us, man, we just want to prove ourselves right more than prove other people wrong.
Okay, so okay, the part there too, and especially whoever had said earlier, like let's not get our egos fed too much or what have you. I did find it interesting that CJ said we knew we could be special, or we knew we had that in us, because it's obviously they're 2-2. I don't think CJ thinks they've accomplished anything, but I do think these guys have a bit of a sense of belief in themselves and maybe a sense of destiny or something. I've long said I have zero issues with anybody who with like an extreme sense of belief or destiny or anything else, even if I might not subscribe to the same level of superstition or anything. I think it serves people very, very well. The more your football team can be like a cult, the freaking better, where you get guys that buy in 100%. And like CJ, obviously, like cult is overstating it. But CJ, if you read the article in the Chronicle by Brooks Cabina this weekend, he has guys to his house for dinner every single night. And like genuinely 100% believes that it's his responsibility to elevate others around him and to do everything he can to help all those guys out. We heard him last week talk about how he feels responsible for the families of the guys that he plays with. Like he's got to help out his teammates so his teammate can help out his own mother and father. Like cool stuff like that. Like so if he believes that they're special, then I say by all means believe it, man. Okay, I can hear that. So let me read this. I've got so many game notes here. Got so many stats. Good stats, bad stats. Most of them good today. Nico Collins stats. Where the hell? Oh, there we go. All right. I think, was this the one where he said when you look back at Ohio State and the receivers that you had and how quickly you adapted to it, have you noticed that same chemistry with guys like Nico and Dalton Schultz so far in the 4 games?
Yeah, just like when I was in school, things didn't happen overnight. It took a little process, and I think even being here, I think I've actually gotten a good, better chemistry and connection faster than I did back in school. I think it took a little longer back then, but um, man, it's been a blessing to work with those guys. Those guys work their tails off at practice. Like if you see Tank's numbers on the catapult during the week, like you would be like, man, how is he gonna play? That dude's running fast. He's putting a lot of extra mileage in. Same with Nico, and they're constantly working on their bodies, doing what they got to do to play. And every single one of them wants to see each other eat. Like it was even a blessing to see Metch get some love today.
Hey, real quick, so I don't forget it. For those of you that wondered what he meant when you said you see Tank Dell's numbers on the catapult's a system they use to track speed, movement, all of that stuff. They'll figure out how far somebody ran in practice, what their average top end speed was, all of that. And theoretically and in practice, they can start to look at when guys might be more injury prone because they're slowing down. And they get competitive about it, like because guys can kind of see if you've got the right kind of guys. Guys can see who's really working hard in practice, who's the fastest in practice. Look at those leaderboards or however they're technically, showing the information to guys these days. And like, I don't think that would surprise anybody. Tank Dell is out there running really, really fast in practice during the week, and it shows up in the game.
I own one. I missed him on a little rollout. I got to hit him in stride, but to see him make a play on an end breaker, that was a really big thing to see from Metch, because that's somebody that we're going to lean on this year. He's going to be big for us. So building chemistry with everybody, though, like from Brev to Dalt to Teagan to Beck. Oh, Beck won too. And then all the way to the outside to the backs. It's everybody's working together. So just building chemistry every day in practice has been really big for us.
The other thing, too, about Mechie, I think that, obviously, between coming back from the knee and then coming back from cancer, no big deal. I already talked earlier about just his impressive blocking yesterday. Like all the wide receivers blocked their butts off. Part of the reason that run game got going was because the wide receivers were blocking their butts off. But Mechie, I think maybe even before he gets back to genuinely full strength, this is the value of really understanding where you're supposed to fit in the offense and being exactly where you need to be, because that goes a long way. Like these guys are meticulous about landmarks, where you're supposed to be throwing the ball, like when you're supposed to throw the ball. And if the receivers aren't there, they're not going to get it. So you got those top 3 guys attracting a whole lot of attention. And then Mechie, by being exactly where he's supposed to be, he's going to get his, and I think it'll get better over time as he starts to get his full strength and athleticism back.
Consecutive games. So just to the fans, what would you say?
Okay, so he basically says, just to the fans, what would you say to them? Listen to this answer, because you might just kind of listen through this and assume that he's given the cliche fans are important type of speech. Just listen to this answer.
I want to say, man, and I've been thinking about this for a long time. Y'all deserve to feel special. Y'all deserve to root the Texans on. Like, not winning since 2021. I think it was around Christmas. Like, like that ain't flying from like anybody in this building. I want them to know like we find our tails off every day to make sure y'all walk around with Texan gear pride. Like y'all walk around with that swag that we walk around with when we get a dub. And for me, I take that real personal because I don't like being bagged on by my teams. Like when my Lakers lose, I'll be pissed. So, so like I take that stuff real serious, man. And it's up to us to work every day and put the work in. And like you seen, I mean, the Steelers fan came and they showed out today in our stadium, and we sent them home. And I think our fans felt the energy. Like, man, we ain't playing today, like from the get go. So I just want to say, man, like we're gonna keep fighting every day, just so y'all can walk around with that swag. I think that's huge, man, for this team. That's something that we want to keep building on, and it's a blessing to be able to be in Houston, like a great town with a lot of stuff to do, great people, Southern hospitality to its finest. And I'm falling in love with the city little by little. So it's a blessing.
I mean, yeah, like at the very end there, he's kissing up a little bit, which is cool and fine. But the part that I found pretty unique was just him kind of really showing that empathy for what it feels like. And yeah, I'm sorry that CJ has had to live through the hardship of the Lakers' occasional relapses into insignificance. They'll last like 2 years for every now and then, but like he gets it. He understands because there's a lot of focus on the Lakers too. So when things don't go well, we love to pile on, don't we? So it goes to show you how well he's playing that he's able to bring up his Lakers fandom and have me pointed out as him being an awesome guy and capable of empathy. Because otherwise, God help Brock Osweiler if he had tried to bring up some example or analogy using the Los Angeles Lakers. My God.
After the team started out way through the season.
Two said the team started out 0-2. Now you're back to 500. Where do you feel the team is a quarter of the way through the season? It's not until after the first quarter of next week will it be a quarter of the way through the season.
Just getting started, man. It's only the beginning. It's a lot of football to be a lot of football to be played still. It's early, man. We don't want to get too high, too low. Stay right where we're right on 50, man. I think that's the thing to get us over the hump and get us a win each and every week is just doing that one thing, like tonight getting your rest. Those little victories that we talk about every day to get to the big ones. I think that's how it works. So for us, man, staying even head, even killed, and coming back to work with a relentless mindset. So ready to get back to work, but we gotta enjoy this one, man, for sure.
That's a cool thing about D'Amico is that D'Amico's got the defensive player's mentality in a lot of ways, but kind of like a quarterback or a baseball player totally understands the need to keep that even keel. As defensive linemen, we tend to run pretty much like all or nothing, like chasing rabbits and getting in fist fights and bars and all that stuff. So it's cool to have older brother CJ tell me how to actually live my life and him be more mature than me at the age of 21. He'll be 22 tomorrow, a Tuesday, because as a true veteran, he scheduled his birthday on an off day. So you don't get that kind of leadership out of anybody.
Okay, CJ, is anybody else in this division to win the division?
As we said, now you're in a four-way tie for first place in the division. Everybody's at 2-2. Do you feel you have as good a chance as anybody in the division to win the division now?
Yeah, man. When I was at Ohio State, we used to say Buckeyes against the world. Now I'm bringing this swag here, man. Texas against the world. So it ain't about what they write about us. It ain't like it's about what we put on the field on Sundays, the work we put in. So there's a lot of football to be played still, but we're gonna walk around with that swag. We know what we can do, and we're getting a lot of guys back from injury, which is gonna help a lot. And for us, man, we're just gonna keep fighting, keep battling every game, every day, every little one thing we want to keep battling. So it's just the beginning, and we're just getting started. So excited for the future. Go Texans! God bless y'all.
Texas against the world. I'm going to make that as the title of the thumbnail when I show this later for sure.